We learned how to do diamond tufting from Cynthia in a method share published on this YouTube channel. But what do you do when your project is wider than your fabric can cover? This is where the Van Dyke seam, or Van Dyke join, comes in. When considering where to make the join, we'll want to have a few button columns on each side of the seam. This makes it a lot easier to get a neat join. Now that we have an idea of where we're going to join, we can cut the two panels we'll need with the idea of significant overlap in mind. The Van Dyke join itself will be a zigzag, so your left and right panels will need to overlap the width of a diamond and then some. Starting from the outside edges rather than the center, tuft in your first piece of fabric. Baste staple your side pleats. Release the last column of buttons, where the join will be later. With a pencil or marker, carefully mark the position of each of the released buttons on the fabric. Fold the join fabric back out of the way. Repeat the previous steps with the second piece of fabric. Visually following the line from button to button, mark a cut line that swings slightly outward, roughly 3/4 of an inch. You want enough to fold and tuck without anything sliding apart, but not so much that the bulk is unmanageable. Trim along the outside of the marked line. Repeat for a second side. Now to make the join. Step 1. Reinstall each button. Determine which half should be on top according to your pattern of folds and slide a button needle through that dot first. Step 2. Slide the needle through the corresponding dot on the second piece of fabric. String a button onto the needle and pull through the board, not drawing the button down yet. Now Cynthia is going to take over and show us how to finish it up.
Okay, so I'm going to start with the piece that's on top. And I'm going to find that dot. And then I'm going to go to the dot on my bottom piece. And as I come down into the board, let me get my buttons started so I can get my needle out of the way. Okay. So now, as I am drawing my button down, I'm going to come in and make sure that all these many pleats are really headed where I want them. The top ones are not too bad. Might have to move them around a little bit. But then I also want to reverse the order of these so that I end up with, I'm headed towards, maybe I'll say headed towards because I'll have to work in my next diamond. Now I have everything stacked the way it should. So this is on top, then this is on top. Then I come down into the next diamond. And this is a really great place to get your regulator out so that you really can get right in around your button and make sure that all those cut edges are behaving themselves and nothing is peeking out. We're using a number 22 button, so that's not a whole lot of real estate to hide our work. If you are speccing this for a real project, you might want to consider going up to a 30 or a 36, just to give yourself a little more room to play. Let me flip this over and get a knot in there. Here we go. And then I can do any final fiddling to try to make that seam as consistent to the ones around it as possible. This is most definitely an intermediate / advanced skill, but you may run into needing it. So we wanted to make sure that you at least are aware of that process. But brace yourself, because it's not the easiest thing in the world, but a little patience and a little precision should get you there. Let's do the next one now. So this one's pretty easy because I'm coming down into the straight pleat. But I can do the same thing. I'll catch my dot. I'm going to catch my second dot. Find the hole in my board. There we go. Sort of finger fold everything into alignment. Get a button strung. Let's see, and my pleats are going this direction. Make sure that we're getting a match. Pull our button down in. Get that anchored, and I'm going to fiddle with it with the regulator, but that looks. I'm going to get a regulator down in there and fiddle with it, but I think that looks about right. Last knot. See how we did. That looks pretty uniform. So I hope that helps you make just a little more sense of some of the finer details of how you work those two cut edges together.